Hi, and welcome back to Animal Liberation TV. So, I wanted to do a I'm going to try and keep this fairly short and sweet, hopefully. It depends how many tangents and little rants I go on, I guess. But I wanted to do say something about hunt sabbers and hunt sabbing. Um, because I've done quite a lot of videos on the channel recently. It's pretty obvious why, especially if you follow what goes on in the UK movement. But I'm going to explain a few little things. And last night, or was it the night before? I was thinking about this episode, recording an episode like this, and what I might say. I was walking back from my mates through the snow and ice through this forest. Oh my god, it was dark. It was night. Well, I mean, it's constantly dark this time of year, isn't it? Anyway, I was going through the snow and the ice, through the forest, and it was quite atmospheric. And I had this owl behind me as I passed this old church on this old bridge. It's quite nice. It's nice where I live. Um, and I had this owl behind me as I was walking back home. And I thought how amazing it was to hear this owl. And it made me think, do you know what? How fucking dare anyone fuck around with wildlife? How dare they do that? How dare they do it to any animal? Obviously, that's how we feel about all animals. But let's talk about the wildlife for the minute, because we know that the animals they breed for fur or food or for experimenting on are purpose-bred animals in these horrendous breeding centres and factory farms and all the rest of it. But animal abuse doesn't just end there. No, no. Humans go out of their way to make sure that every animal's persecuted, don't they? Oh dear. I mean, I'm laughing because it's so fucking sick, the whole thing, like the spectacle of it. Humanity just like attacking and obliterating anything else that lives, It's just like, it's horrendous. Anyway, let's talk about the wildlife. They attack the wildlife as well. The main sort of hunting is for foxes, isn't it? And then it's hares. And in the summer they used to do otters, which then became mink. And I don't know how many of those mink hunts are still left in the UK. If any, I'm not quite sure because I don't follow it that closely anymore. But it's just, and then they shoot, they have the shooting parties, they breed these animals or these birds, and then they chase them, and then they fly up, and then there's a lot of people waiting them to get chased towards them, and just shoot them down from the sky. I mean, oh, and then there's the trapping, and then there's the poisoning, and then there's just the shooting. People going out coursing and shooting just a few people or a couple of people, or even on their own, the freaks. Bloodthirsty, hunt scum. That's what we call them, and that's what they will always be. Total scum, in my opinion. Anyway, if you go out of your way to harm an animal, anyway, you're scum. You're filth. You really are. And if you out in the countryside, and you start like interfering with animals, wildlife around there, and anyway, the badgers as well. God, they get a bad deal as well, don't they, with this cull? I mean, I do actually support a cull. Yeah, I do, and I support hunting. Yeah. But not of the animals. Oh dear, like come on. It winds me up the whole way wildlife's treated. It's no stone is left unturned, is it, when it comes to abusing animals? Anyway, so hearing this owl, it just sounded so amazing in the atmosphere with this frost and the ice and snow everywhere in the forest. And I just thought, how dare anyone attack any fellow animal, wildlife, animal. How dare they? Anyway, so the reason why I've been focusing on the hunt sabbing thing was because a few weeks ago a hunt sab from the North Hunts group, Lisa, was run down, hit in a hit and run incident by a hunt supporter. I show that in clips of it in a few of the hunt sab videos I've uploaded recently, and I've showed a slightly fuller length one which says hit and run in the title, attempted murder, because that's what it was. I mean, luckily, Lisa's, she didn't have any broken bones. I don't know how. And she's, like, I think relatively injury free from it, which is amazing when you see it, don't you? I think, I've watched it a few times while I've been editing the video together, and I think somehow it kind of caught her hip at a glance on the side, so it kind of spun her, and the momentum, it was more momentum than impact. But it's literally a miracle that poor Lisa survived, and that is outright attempted murder. If it was with a hammer or a knife and it glanced off someone, that would be attempted murder. If it's a car, for some reason, when things are done in vehicles, it's seen as totally different. Cars are killing machines, man. Carmageddon. We could really do without motorised transport around, for animals and us, for the health, for the planet, for the environment. It's just a capitalist project, isn't it? Cars are the blood cells in the veins of capitalism. They need us to be driving cars and guzzling all that fuel at extortionate prices. Anyway, so these crimes, road crimes, and like, they tend to get weird sentences and weird charges, and anyway, and we know that police rarely do, or the courts rarely do anything against the Hunts when they attack the Sabs. So, watching those videos, which is, I didn't watch them for a few days after I heard about it, because I was like, that's going to do my fucking head in. If I see that, I'm going to just have, like, outrageous levels of rage that I won't be able to control, and I'm just going to get all wound up. So, and when I did watch them, they did shock me, I have to say. They're shocking clips to watch, poor Lisa. And thank God, she's okay. But nonetheless, the person that drove that car at her, I'm sorry, but no, no, the animal liberation movement doesn't accept behaviour like that. It doesn't, and it never has done. And unfortunately, lots of animal rights people have been hurt in attacks on demos and protests and on SABs and all the rest of it, haven't they? We know, I've covered it a lot in this channel, about the various deaths linked to the movement. People being run over. Regan Russell, just a couple of years ago, I did an episode, a rant about that. I was angry that night. Yeah. I mean, because if one of us gets attacked, then all of us gets attacked. It's kind of like the NATO treaty thing, isn't it? Well, that's how we should see it, because it could be one of us. It could be me on a SAB. It could be me on a demo. It could be you on a SAB or you on a demo. And we have to stand up for each other. This is really, really important. If the movement is seen as weak, and can be picked off and attacked, and people can be attacked and killed, then we have got, they're not going to fear us, we're going to be fearing them, because we're going to be scared of getting beaten up and killed all the time, doing what we do, standing up for other creatures. And no more so than Sabin, because those videos, I mean, I was kind of trying to highlight the Hunt violence and the kind of, I suppose, the opposition between the Sabs and us lot, the animal liberationists, and the Hunt scum. How polarised we are. There's no what do you call it, compromise with those people between us and them, is there? No. Oh no. I wouldn't even like to say what I think should happen. I think you can all guess to what the Hunt scum. But anyway, I digress. But Hunt violence is such a massive thing. So these Hunt Sab videos I've done recently that I've uploaded have focused on, I hope they haven't put people off the idea of sabbing too much, because I've featured a lot of the aggression and the violence. I mean, a lot of days out sabbing is stood around in fields or running across fields, no sign of the hunt perhaps, or waiting in vehicles. Driving around in vehicles trying to spot the hunt from the roads, not managing to find them, things like that. A lot of days, a lot of it's very wet and muddy and cold, and But I have to say, over the years I've done various bits of subbing. I have experienced and witnessed hunt violence myself, and that's why I've always stood up for fellow subs if they've been attacked or whatever. And over the years, there's been quite a few sort of hits or national hits I've gone on, which have been called, like a week or two after someone's been driven down, or battered or whatever, or there's been a big scrap and the hunt were really vicious. And the idea is you get a load of subs the next week to say, look, there's loads of us here this week, fuck with us, you're going to be in trouble. And there's loads of us can come at any time if you attack us. And that has to be the message and has to be the response to hunt violence and any violence perpetrated against us as a movement. We need to see ourselves as one. We have to stand together and stand up for ourselves. We cannot be seen as easy targets. No, we need to be seen as something excuse me, to be reckoned with, not to be picked off and targeted. That people go, whoa, that lot, whoa, yeah, you don't want them on your case, That's what we need to be seen as, and I don't mean anything illegal. I just mean firm-minded people who will stand up for themselves. And so, in terms of the hunt violence, I mean, my God, it's endless. I've mentioned this before on the channel, but it has been endless violence from the hunts towards hunt subs. Endless. I've seen so many incidents myself, been involved in quite a few incidents. Well, not so much on the receiving end, but let me mention again Mike Hill in February 1991, 9th of Feb. The Liverpool group. I've talked about Mike Hill a lot. I mean, mainly because Mike Hill still lives in our hearts, us ALF from the early 90s, because we decided we were going to up our game after Mike was killed, and look what happened. I read out the action list in 1991, the podcast too. Everyone has heard me mentioning that a lot, because I see it as very important, because it shows the strength of what a fairly small number of people can do, that huge list of actions, albeit a long time ago and whatever else. But that was as a result of the murder of Mike Hill by the Cheshire Beagles on the 9th of February 1991. So hunt violence is so close to my heart. Some of my best friends were good friends with him. One of my mates in Munster was his girlfriend at the time. Mike Hill's death was a huge event for lots and lots of people. It was a big event. Poor Mike, never forgotten. Rest in peace, Mike. 18 years old and killed by the hunt. That's, this is why we launched a war in response, basically, or upped our game. And then Tom Warby in 1993, I think it was April. I mean, oh God, I think he was 15 as well, he was just a lad, a child, and I think the Cambridgeshire Hunt, they rode over him deliberately and killed him. Witnesses to that, the police, nothing came of it, like the same as with Mike Hill. So, and I remember hearing about each one, where I was, and how I felt, and I still feel like that thinking about it now, because it's grim. It's kind of a bit overpowering, because it's so immensely intense, isn't it? The fact that people, hunt subs have been killed. This is why I've been focusing on these hunt sub videos recently, because the hunt subs need support, and we all need to be out subbing at some point in this next season. Even I've said I'm going to go back out. I'm going to try and go out at least once this season. I know it's not a lot, but I mean to Cottesmore, basically, but I live hundreds of miles away from there, and I've got a lot going on, which I'm going to explain in my appeals episode 2 coming up soon. And I digress again. So the point is that I guess kind of like hunt subbing has always been close to my heart, and making these videos recently reminded me, kind of, it brought out the hunt sub in me again. I'm kind of quite looking forward to going out again, albeit probably just once or twice this season because of my circumstances. But nonetheless, I do plan on going out with Northants hunt subs and helping them out, because that Cottesmore hunt is notoriously violent, and let's cover one thing for start. The so-called ban, right? There's no fucking ban. It was wishy-washy barrister because Tony Blair is an ex-barrister, isn't it? This is another spoke on the wheel of the fucking bullshit Tony Blair did for the animal rights movement in the UK. He lied about the Royal Commission, and he stitched Barry up. He stitched Barry up in a whole load of ways by lying about it, the whole thing, and what Barry had been up to, and working everything against him. He propped up HLS, he propped up Hillgrove, he propped up all the stuff, brought in new laws against animal rights people, and then said he'd ban hunting, but instead laid it out. So basically, it was like a kind of a clause, like, oh, we're trail hunting now. I mean, the trail lane has been totally busted in a whole number of ways, now. It's been national news in a whole load of ways, about how they've been caught out lying about it, and there's some webcasts with all the hunt scum, and they were talking to each other, and it managed to get leaked to the press, where they were talking about covering up what they really do, which is hunting by lying about trail lane. So that whole myth has been busted. We know they hunt animals, dirty bastards, because that's what they fucking are. Anyway, I hate those people. I hate them with a vengeance. And they are violent. They love beating up and hurting hunt subs. So, when they tried to basically kill Lisa the other week, that's just pissed me the fuck off. So, anyway, I'm giving as much support as I can to hunt subs. I promise I'm going to come out and sub the Cottesmore at least once this season. It's not that much, but I'm trying to do what I can do in solidarity, and I think by talking about it and doing these videos, at least I'm helping in some way. At least people know what's going on. So subbing really is kind of like, I haven't covered it so much on this channel, and I'm making up for it now. But really, every ALF activist I've known was a hunt sab at some point as well during their kind of career as an animal liberationist. That's what you do when you're young. You get into sabbing. I mean, because it's a lot of running, you have to be quite fit. It's good for getting fit, sabbing. It's kind of like rite of passage is kind of the wrong way of putting it. It's just sort of like experiencing direct action in the field by saving wildlife, which I did, early on in my first. I did 2 full seasons when I first got involved as a sab. One down south, and then I joined the Manchester Sabs, and they were really kind of like quite on it at the time. I mean, there was, there's no point in me listing off people's names because then, that was decades ago. But there were some really good people in the group, consistently out, good sabs, would stand up against hunt scum, and do a good job. I was known for always having a spray. I'd have you get those plant water bottles. I'd put water in mine and then put a decent amount of citronella essential oil. Citronella is the best, and you put about that much in a full bottle, and you sweat out. I mean, that's what, if I smell citronella now anywhere, it automatically takes me straight back to being in a sab van, driving on a Saturday morning, huddled up. And this is before vans had proper seats. We used to sit on benches like either side along, and no seat belts or anything. It was just like benches in the back of a van. That's how it used to be back then. You'd just be sat there like, whoa, whoa. And my spray, I was known for always having my spray in my hand. And one time in particular, I think doing the Cheshire Forest, this fox ran past me in the middle of the woods, the covert, and I could hear the hounds to my left. The fox ran right past me, and then to my right, and I could hear the hounds behind baying, because they've got onto the scent of the fox. And so I just ran across. The fox had run across in front of me here, left to right. The hounds were on my left. I could hear them coming, and so I just ran backwards and forwards across the line that the fox had just made, and I was spraying that citronella. I was fucking hell, I got to save this fox's life. Fuck. Anyway, they lost the scent at that point. And I don't know if that fox would have got away, using its own energy and stuff, but I like to think I helped that fox live at least another day. And that's a beautiful moment as a hunt sub, right there. And it was just kind of me at that point. Other subs were doing other stuff, like across the fields, like trying to call the hounds off or whatever, And there I was with my spray, known for my spray. I was just spraying it. I was like, I could not spray it hard enough because I was panicking because this fox just legged it right past me, terrified. Poor thing. I mean, what the fuck do they think they're actually doing? They're on these horses. Oh my god, they're such a bunch of. I don't want to use that word, but and then they've got the dogs. I mean, like. Here's a good example, right? This is a classic example about reckless and don't give a fuck with the hunter, right? For that Cottesmore hunt, 90 subs turned up as a hit. I was supposed to be there myself, but my lift fell through because his dog's really unwell, unfortunately. So I couldn't make it, but I was really excited about going down for that. But anyway, 90 subs did turn up for that. Anyway, that day I did a little video about it, didn't I? But you see a sheep that I think was killed. I mean, it looks very bad. The hounds ran through a flock of sheep and ended up attacking one, and that's the one with the bleeding eye and mouth. It's a disgusting image. Poor sheep. They don't give a fuck. They just carry on riding through, calling the hounds off. Oh, one sheep dead. Who gives a fuck? They don't care. Those people. They are such scum. Anyway, and then at one point, some of the horses accidentally hit one of the hounds, I think, with a hoof or something, and the hound was injured anyway. A mate of mine, one of my exes actually, she was down for that sab and she went to help the hound out, and then the hunt attacked her. Oh dear. So, injured hounds, murdered sheep, attacking the sabs. They don't give a fuck. And apparently the Cottesmore is like hypertypical of hunt scum. They all act as a bit of a pack on the horses and will cover each other's backs, try and ride you down and block your cameras and intimidate you. And if there's a scuffle, they'll all gather round and intimidate you with a horse. And then the hunt support, well, I've included loads of clips of those hunt support, haven't I? With certain people's images over and over again in those sub videos, because they're scum. And, watch out, to look out for. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the subbing, I loved subbing when I was first a sub, and that's how I met all my animal rights mates. Really, that I still keep in touch with now, 34 years later. One of the first guys I ever went out subbing with in a really small town down south. We're going to meet up in January, and that was 1989 that we met. So we're going to meet up in January. We see each other normally several times a year. We live opposite ends of the country, but we still keep in touch, and we still have silly phone calls, winding each other up and laughing and stuff. And so I met my best friends through subbing, as it happens, really, for life. And watching and editing these videos and looking at all that hunt violence, but looking at the really good images of foxes getting away and sabs standing up for themselves, and even like answering back to the police and putting them in their place and stuff. I just love it. I love the sabs, and it's kind of reignited the sab in me. Like I've realised that I'm always a hunt sab. I kind of like. I haven't been out much for like a 10, 20 year period, really, a couple of times in that time. But like in my heart, I'm always a hunt sub. That's what it's reminded me. It's brought so many like feelings back up. And so I am really going to try to get out at least once this season. Let's see. I'm going to try. And as a quick side note, subbing is great for getting fit, but also it's good to try and get fit if you're going to try and go out subbing, because this is what what I want to say is I'd encourage everyone to try and get in touch with your local SAB group. Okay, join the SABs, get involved, go sabbing. It's not all violence and stuff. Like I said, mostly it's boring stuff, you know. But when the violence does occur, we have to stand up against it. We have to fight back, you know. And I don't mean, um, you know, whatever undue violence. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying if someone tries to hit you, then you hit them back. Basically, if someone hits you, hit them back. Hit them back harder. And um, so yeah, I've been thinking about doing this for the last few months anyway. On a side note, I'm gonna start a little fitness series on this channel because for 10 years in my 30s, I was a personal trainer in Manchester. I had my own business doing it. I was quite successful. And I've just signed up for a white collar boxing fight in April, next April. Oh dear. So that gives me 4 months to get fit for a boxing fight. Um, and also, I've been thinking about doing this fitness thing anyway. So now that I'm thinking about going subbing this season, and also because I've got this boxing fight, I think altogether it's quite good timing to do this fitness stuff now. And as part of that, what I'm going to do is give a rough explanation of all the different components of fitness, tell you how to get fit, tell you how to get strong. I can give you nutritional guidance because I'm fully qualified on all the personal training, nutrition, and everything. Like I said, I did it as a job, self-employed for 10 years, and quite a lot of money during that period. Great times. And I was one of the earliest vegan personal trainers, really. You know. So. And on top of that, which I'm also qualified to do, I'm going to show you the basics in boxing training. And you don't have to do boxing for fighting, but it's great for fitness workouts. Boxing is really good. Fittest athletes are the boxers, if you know what you're talking about. So I'm going to show you all the basics of your basic 6 punches, and also all the fitness stuff. And that will help you if you're a sab or you're thinking about going sabbing, to get fit and now to throw a punch back if some idiot, some inbred, red-faced, pig-killing bumpkin comes up to you, abusing you and starts threatening you with violence. You know, if he starts hitting you, just knock him out. And I'm not inciting violence when I say that. I'm promoting self-defense. That's all I'm doing. I'm saying people stand up for your own rights and your own safety. I'm not talking about aggressive actions. I'm talking about self-defense. Governor, Your Honour. So the sabbing thing is very close to my heart. And so I want to wrap this up really. I've been driven into by a Land Rover once, by the Warwickshire Hunt. I think it was something like September 1998, 97, September 9. No, it wouldn't be that late. I think maybe September 96 then. Possibly 95. But it was the Warwickshire Hunt, I'm going to say 96. And I'm going to tell that story in Badger Stories properly, but I got driven into by a Land Rover. Luckily, I anticipated it happening, and it wasn't at high speed, so I kind of jumped on the bonnet and then got flung off the bonnet once it stopped. I timed jumping on the bonnet with it coming towards me because it wasn't that fast, but you know, and I don't just make these up. If Terry Ellsby was around to chat, I mean, he's alive, he's just a bit of a recluse, he'd say, yeah, he saw that. And Gareth and Dawn, who were Manchester Sabs in the late 90s, they saw that incident as well. So, you know, I don't bullshit. I only tell stuff that's real and true. But yeah, I got driven into then. I've been threatened loads of times out sabbing, and in the late 90s I organised sort of around Mike Hill's anniversary that weekend. I'd organised like for a few years in the late 90s, maybe 3-4 years on the trot, Mike Hill anniversaries where we'd have a big sab. I mean, people tended to do that anyway, but I got involved a few years and organised like big sabs and then hunt demos the next day. And one time we had like a rave on the Sunday night, I think, after the weekend that I'd organised a benefit gig. Um, uh, that weekend we got nicked. Everyone got nicked. Like 90 of us on the Saturday and about 60 on the Sunday. The police just nicked everyone. But I will tell all of those stories and Badger stories. So I've always kept an interest, and I did used to go out every so often in the late 90s with the Manchester Hunt Sabs. They used to always moan, "Well, Max, whenever you come out, there's always trouble." No, what? No, me? No. So, I would encourage everyone to get involved in sabbing now and spread the word about sabbing. And the reason for that is because we need to stand up against this hunt violence, and we need. I think the sabs, if we can build up a good sab movement, so our hits aren't 90 people, they're 250 people. If we can build up a network of the subs groups so they grow and grow and grow, everyone's got good vehicles. There's whole loads of people want to go out every Saturday. And if you don't want to go out subbing yourself, you've been put off by me and my videos, which would kind of be the opposite of what I want, because I'm encouraging everyone to go out subbing. If you don't want to go out sabbing, you can do street stalls for the sabs, you can do pub collections for the sabs, you can do benefit gigs for the sabs, you could buy their merchandise, join the Hunt Saboteurs Association and get the newsletters, spread the word to people, wear the t-shirts, wear the badges. What else can you do? Well, I mean, it's down to your imagination. Publicity stunts, demos, against hunting, demos, at the locations, like their meat and their kennels and stuff like that. I don't know if that's not illegal, is it? Well, if it is, then I don't encourage it. But if it isn't, then I do. But there's lots of things you can do to support the hunt subs. Donate money. If you can repair vehicles, let them know. Or people that are good mechanics that will do it cheap or for free. Because the vehicles have to be maintained. If you've got people that have got warm clothing that might help them out in the winter, I don't know. Make them some food for a Saturday night. All the sabs when they get back have a big hot meal ready for them, and probably a couple of cans of lager, knowing what sabs are like. But that's young folk for you. So I don't want to rant on too much. I just kind of wanted to say good luck to all the sabs that are going out regularly everywhere. I love what you do. I support what you do. I think it's amazing. Facing the weather, facing the scum, and if you're a sab or you've ever been a sab, you know what I mean when I say about scum. They're not built like us lot. They're a different breed. They're racist towards us. They call us townies. They think we don't have a clue about their bumpkin ways. What is there to know? You're generally an animal abuser. Most bumpkins are animal abusers, aren't they? And they're proud of it. And they call us townies because we don't understand the countryside ways. No, I think what you find is we do understand your countryside ways totally, and that's why we're trying to stop what you do, because you're mostly inbred bumpkins, no brains and no heart either. Oh dear, yeah. Talking about that cull again, thinking about that cull. But anyway, I am joking when I say these things for the police watching. So I'd encourage everyone to join the local group, support your local group, go out subbing, get a feel for it. They're good days. The days when you're successful and the hunt can't do much because you're getting in the way or you're managing to get hold of the pack. It's exciting. You meet new people. Like I said, I met the best mates of my life. That's where I met everyone. So, and I had a good social life as a result of meeting the Sabs straight away. Like the first Sabs I ever met, we started drinking down a pub every Friday. Well, they were already doing that. I just joined in on there every Friday and Saturday drinking or whatever. And yeah, great days. I associate sabbing with great days, but also a lot of bad days. um, but this idea of solidarity and making a point, I think now, they've tried to kill one of us. Like, that's no small thing. So, as a statement, if you're into animal rights and you're against animal abuse, as a statement of people trying to pick us off and kill us and seeing us as a weak target, I think it's our duty to support the SABs and go out sabbing ourselves, unless you're really physically unable to. Or, I mean, I've got a lot of really serious commitments at the minute, but I am going to try and go out at least once or twice. If every animal rights supporter and vegan went out once or twice this season, well, we'd have tons of subs, wouldn't we? So I'm trying to do my bit. So, but I'd encourage you, if you have got time and you're able to, go out sabbing, get a feel for it, get a taste for it. When you save an animal and you see that animal saved and running off away from the hunt, what a feeling that is. And the days when you get in the way of the hunt and you stop the scum enjoying their bloodthirsty ways, that's a great feeling, getting in the way of those fuckers, I tell you. So, sabbing, go for it. Everyone should get involved. In the meantime, take care.